Hey everyone, it's Kenlyn and welcome back to my channel for the Astro and Energy Report for the week of August 3rd. It is an intense and bold and game-changing week that is intended to prepare us for the eclipse. The last eclipse of 2025 happens in September. And so we're in the throes of the clearing and the cleaning, the reevaluation. We are with 4 planets in retrograde in fire and 1 planet in retrograde in fixed air. Remember the signature of fire and air, massively transformative. So we're going to talk about the intensity of this week, how to get alongside it, how to complete and let go before we tune into the beauty of the full moon coming and this Venus-Jupiter conjunction happening the 10th, 11th, and 12th that has some sparkle dust, some much needed sparkle dust in the area of romance and money and finances and materiality. Check where Cancer is in your chart. Jupiter is exalted, so it promises to be a beautiful time. If you want to get alongside of it, you can make some actions for that time, and I'll unleash a new video for you. But let's start off this week with the Power Path report. I love them, love those guys. And normally they give you 1 word for the month, and this time there are 3. And it starts with discernment and boundaries and discipline. Very Saturnian words. But those energies is what it's going to take to complete the past, to close the chapter. And so if anything is coming to your awareness of what hasn't been completed, now is your time to do that. And one of the things that's helpful is to take a bit of an inventory, and let's kind of go through it. This is a way to declutter your mind, your consciousness, your psyche, your emotions. And you may even want to do the ritual itself of decluttering your closet, your drawers, your life, because we're here to actually simplify things. And why is that? Because over the next 10 years is going to be some pretty big tumultuous changes and breakdowns internally as we become new people in Mother Gaia, and externally in society as we make a shift from who we were being to who we are, and we start a new 100-year cycle. 80 to 93 years is a saculum. It's 4 seasons, and we're in the final throes, the last 7 years, maybe 10 years of the winter season, the crisis season. And so crisis always brings opportunities if you have ears to hear and eyes to see, if you are not caught up in the past. And so now is our opportunity to declutter. And what are we decluttering? Well, let's look at what are hidden, unresolved resentments, disappointments, anger, grief, unprocessed emotions, something you really haven't dealt with yet, but you knew at some point you would need to. This is that point. Maybe you're also saying goodbye to an old identity. And anytime you're in an upgrade cycle and you're being upgraded or you're being initiated for the upgrade, you get to let go of old identities. Someone you thought you were that you no longer are. And it's a very good inventory. What are the ways that you accepted crumbs? What are the ways that you put up with things that weren't true for you? What are the ways that you created a veneer of who you are rather than showing who you really are? What are the ways that you've still been running a victim story, that you think someone else owes you something, that you're still mad at your ex-husband or your ex-business partner and you haven't fully let it go? This is a great full moon to do that, coming up on Friday. Separate video for that. For now, let's keep going. You know, what is still in your field? And you can really, when you're silent, feel into what still has hooks and claws into you. And that will give you an idea of what you need to do a ritual around, a release process around, to really give it over. There are so many changes, like even Stephen Colbert can't rely on having a job consistently, because this is a dynamic season of change. And one of the things he said is, I give it over. He was taught that from his mother. How beautiful is that? I give it over. I give it to God, Goddess, higher self, because we are part of the ocean and we are being done. We have a say in how we choose to show up for it all. Do we choose to align with it? Do we choose to resist it and fight it? You know, I was in Telluride with someone who I felt after watching him for like 5 days that he really was the one person I could point to who runs like no resistance energy. Like, isn't that amazing? You know, we wake up and there's like socks on the floor and we get pissed off that there's socks on the floor. That's resistance energy, you know, or the lawn wasn't cut the way we want it. I don't know, I'm just grasping at straws, but you know what I mean? The way that we nitpick things, it's resistance energy to what is. And I just watched this person who has very big responsibilities with teams of people in construction just run no resistance energy. And I thought, well, that's really fascinating. How can I start to play a keto with the things that hit me of, I don't like that? Because that's another distraction. That's another adhesion in my field when really life is trying to be lived through me. Like, come on, let's go. Let's superconduct. Don't put your foot on the gas pedal through resistance. I don't know where that came from, but somebody needed to hear that. So let's look at discernment. You know, discernment is what's yours to do. Remember, Byron Katie said, there's God's business, there's your business, and then there's someone else's business. Guess which one's yours? Just you, your business. So you get to evaluate, and it's not always on the nose. What is my business? What am I here to do? Knowing the bigger purpose. What are my gifts? What is my genius? What is mine to do in a sea of massive distractions and tons of things to do? You're not meant to do them all. You're finite. Your attention is finite. So you must use discernment. And when we use discernment, we're cultivating a skill that's absolutely necessary for the future. Now, think about it. AI filling the airspace like you don't even know if I'm an AI generated being or I'm me. You don't know. Think about that world. That's crazy. We have to have discernment at a gut level. We have to have discernment at a heart level. And so now is the time to cultivate it. And as we do that, we also have to be aware of our shadow. There's a thing called confirmation bias, and we're seeing it play out as Neptune and Pluto retrogrades bring all the crud to the surface. We also are seeing, you know, bell curve. Most people are really ready for the truth, and then there are others who are resisting and fighting what's being shown and spinning other narratives. So we get to ask ourselves, what part of that is confirmation bias? How am I in my own, drinking my own Kool-Aid, believing my own biases? Now look it up. There's a study that was done, I believe in 1954. There was a woman guru, and she said that a spaceship was coming and was going to take her people. So the true believers on the inside actually sold all their property and quit their jobs and were totally ready for that night. And nothing happened. And what she said was, guess what, guys, we've been spared. We're allowed to stay here and live. And so those in the inner circle and the true believers who had the most to lose doubled down on their beliefs. And they went to the newspaper and said, we've been spared, humanity's been spared, or whatever it was. And then those that were not in the inner circle, but were still part of it, started to slowly slip away. And this research was done by someone infiltrating that group and watching, because that was their hunch, that the people who had the most to lose would double down on their belief. And that's where this body of work called confirmation bias came from. So we get to know our own confirmation bias. And how do we know that we have confirmation bias? Well, we know when we're attached to something. Imagine like somebody else trying to argue with you about something, and you're getting triggered because it's a matter now of your identity. And so that's where you leave open. You have a leakage. Or you can become a true believer and double down on something that's not true, or could be possibly true and false, because that's kind of the world we live in. It's a lot of gray. And our discernment can come in and still navigate the pathway through without up here having to know everything. It's a fascinating juxtaposition. Our mind gets to be in service of something else, but we have to clear out the garbage. I guess that's really the point of what we're saying. So your discernment is going to be key. Learn that skill. And then orient your drishti, your third eye gaze, like a laser on where it is you're going. And what if you don't know? Like, I don't know. I'm right here. I'm in the liminal space between the old and the new. But I know I'm going to an up level, an evolutionary up level. Why? Because I say that I am, because I intend that I am, because I'm taking action in alignment with that. So when you do that, you don't really have any time to focus on things that are like energy leaks that are not yours. So that's where boundaries come into place. You know, where are you answering the question, as the Gene Keys would put it? Where are you answering the question that is not for you, that's for someone else? It's not your question. And so one way, especially if someone comes to you with information that isn't yours to hear, it doesn't involve you, it's more like gossip, you can say, what is your intention in having me know this, in sharing this? What do you want me to do? And that really cuts through. And either there's a sincere ask and request on the other side, or it's been revealed that it's just about garnering sides and being right and all the ego identity around that really, if you're listening to this, you're not in the game for anymore. No more of that. We get to let that stuff go. That's old leaking energy. And so these boundaries are around patterns, not necessarily people, but patterns. Like having your energy sucked from you because maybe you don't have a strong enough boundary to say, you know what? I need to go. This is not my conversation. You know, I was telling friends today that I had someone 25 years ago. I was very young and complaining about a person that I was with romantically. And I didn't have any distinctions. I was new to this whole thing. And she said to me this, and this is a nugget that I have taken with me all these years. She said, I'll listen to you all day long if you do something about it. But if you're still going to keep saying the same old thing over and over, complaining over and over, being a victim over and over, I'm no longer available for it. It was literally the kindest, most loving thing. So we're redoing the pattern that says that I have to listen to other people's low vibrational, low worldview stuff that comes out of their mouth. No, we don't actually, because we don't have unlimited attention. We don't. We are finite in that area. So what do you want to spend it on? And that's really what these retrogrades have given us the opportunity to look at. So we have 4 planets in retrograde in fire. And that includes Chiron, the wounded healer. And then we've got Pluto retrograde in fixed air. So remember, we talked about the energy shifting. And we have Chiron retrograde teeing us up for some very deep healing. So we've seen this in the collective. A lot of very triggering sexual, emotional stuff is coming out, particularly from the United States. We also have things like Israel and Gaza, deeply emotional, deeply wounding, deeply triggering. And that's coming up because we can't heal anything that doesn't come to light. So just know, take on for yourself as Chiron is turning inward and looking at the wounds. He's doing that for the healing. So if you have in your chart Chiron and you're around 50 years old, 51, you're in your Chiron return. If you and you'll have it in Aries, and look at your degree points, because he's stationed retrograde at 27 degrees. He'll go all the way back to 22 degrees. So it could be Chiron on Chiron, giving you personally the chance to clear and clean out old wounds from your childhood that you could do nothing about then, and now you can clear them. It's really a blessed time, and it takes the work of ninjas, the work of warriors, the work of goddesses to be able to do this work. And so our mandate is to use the discernment and the boundaries and the discipline to effectuate it all, to make it all happen, to put it in action, to really uplevel our game. And that brings me to Mars. So Mars is doing some things, and, you know, Mars brought havoc last year through, I think, early this year. But as of August 6th, Mars will go into Libra. He doesn't love it there because Libra is the scales of justice, and Mars likes to cut and sever. But maybe there's something about cutting and severing something that isn't just. And that energy will be August 6th through September 22nd. So expect some things on the world stage. But he's trining Uranus August 7th through 10th. And that trine is going to be calculated risks. Where are you asked to take calculated risks? So remember that the eclipse is going to reboot us and really start to set us on this emergent path, this new path for each and every one of us and the collective. So we're here to close out, to scour the bottom of the barrel for anything left that is preventing us from closing completely the chapter. And that's the distinction of completion, the distinction of saying, I am complete. I will give no more energy to it. Something may come into your field that says, actually, no, you're not complete. And then you can do that and complete it. So completion can happen over and over again. Sometimes we fall off the wagon and we need to come back into completion. But that Mars trining Uranus is shaking things up for that new world, for the emergent future, for that eclipse time when that whole reboot will enter the wormhole and will come out in a new place. That's what eclipses get to do for us in consciousness. So this is the time to take that heat, that fire that's turned inward through the retrogrades, the fire retrogrades, and really ask the deeper questions of what do you want? What lights you up? Where is there heat in all the choices that you have? It's like that one's got heat. We talked about that last week. And then as the trauma surfaces, cleaning the trauma, doing whatever you need to do, go see a trauma healer. It's a perfect time during this retrograde. Any way that you have been wounded inside of the Aries concept, the I am. So remember that Pisces is in the womb, understanding its connection to the all. And then it separates through the birth canal, comes out in I am. And that I am consciousness is an existential consciousness. I am here in a particularity, in a body, here to play the game on earth. Woo! So summon the existential courage for this game. It's going to take it. And if you're midlife like me, a Gen Xer, we're born for this. We are the midwives of this. The millennials are going to take the baton and run as soon as we get through this crisis. But we are the ones. We've been groomed for this crisis. We are truly the ones we have been waiting for. So take that on and clear and clean whatever you need to clear and clean to get to that knowing, and then particularly know what is yours to do. So one thing astrologer said, Vanessa Corazon, she said, we always have the courage the moment requires of us. So just know you can't pre-plan that. We will always have the courage. We will always have the support. It will come out of the woodwork in maybe very surprising places. We're in a period of realignment, reassessment, new family groups, new friend groups, new everything is emerging. But just know that we have what we need in the moment. We always will. So calculated risks, new projects. There's a trine to Pluto which will soften, not, shouldn't say that because Pluto never softens. There's a trine to Pluto happening on the 8th. So right in there, August 7th to 10th, we've got Uranus trining Mars, and we have Uranus opposing Saturn and Neptune retrograde. That right there is a very intense signature. So we will see more and more intensity. Mars is a personal planet. Saturn is personal. So it could be in your life intensity. However, that trine to Pluto, the trine to Pluto coming in on the 8th, lasting for 4 days, is giving us the energy to up level. If you choose it, we are at choice here. We can go down with this energy, or we can evolve with this energy. And what are the telltale signs of evolution? Being responsible, response-able, giving yourself a say in the matter of life through playing cleanup, being responsible. You're not a victim here. Everything is happening for you and not against you. And when you have the true gnosis of that, and when you can see it even in the middle of difficulty, even if you grieve and cry, you come to the place of seeing that. And it's not a spiritual bypass. It doesn't bypass the grieving and the pain that is already there, but it has you land on holy ground. Because that ground can take you when you are responsible and you know that life is for you, then Pluto can elevate you where you really need to go, where you really shine. Just carry that intention with you. So what we get to talk about next is what's coming. And I'm going to leave us here with a cliffhanger, and I'm going to make a new video. So what's coming is the full moon in Aquarius. There's a kite formation, and some people say that kite we get to lift and take off, and other people are like, no, I've analyzed the astrology and it's always a very tumultuous time. It'll be what it is, and you'll experience it as you do. But full moons in Aquarius, what is that about? Highlighting the collective. What do we need to know and do in response to the collective that we're becoming? We are starting to move more as a we, and that's what crisis periods do. They launch community. So let that be one of the seeds that germinates inside of you. Then we have, as I said, that beautiful Venus conjunction with Jupiter. Look at where they are in Cancer. So where's Cancer in your chart? Know what that is, because you may want to take initiations around that day having to do with something in your chart. Like if it's the 4th house, maybe you're looking for a new place to live. That's a great time period to go out and look. You might find that very perfect magical place. Or just be open to what the universe brings your way. Very positive for love, money, and success. And we'll talk about that at another video, which I promise to release before the full moon so that you can do a ritual and get alongside of it. But for now, let's gather all the positive energy that we have generated here. Not just save it for ourselves, but beam it out, because we are one humanity. We are one world. We are one being. And let's just say together, may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Thank you for being here.